What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to RGTP. And as always, I am your host, Louis. And with me, as always, is the man with the cool shirts. Mama, what kind of shirt we got on today, man?
It's the Avengers, bro. We got Spider-Man, Thor. Yo, honestly, it looks like Batman. When I got the shirt, I was like, why is Batman with the Avengers, bro? Black Panther. Yeah.
I hear it.
Like
I hear it. I should have worn my Justice League shirt just cause.
Yeah.
Just cause. Where is it at? Preview.
Too late.
Preview. It's here somewhere. I swear to God, it's
bro.
I swear to God, it's up here somewhere.
Oh, okay. I think I've seen that one. Yeah.
You know.
That's my favorite character right there.
But nonetheless, sports, man. We are in a crazy world of sports recently. With the latest news, we're gonna jump right into is some NFL news briefly.
We talked about this man so many times.
Yeah,
we talked about this team so many times.
That Baker Mayfield has officially been shipped off to the Carolina Panthers for a conditional 5th round pick that could go up to a 4th, depending on playing
Blew
time.
The doors off on that one.
But a former number 1 pick traded for
a 5th round pick.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah, some of those transpire.
Do we know what that condition is?
So it's playing time. It could go up to a 4th due to playing time.
Oh, okay.
So he plays enough games. If he plays enough games, it's going to happen. But we've talked enough about Cleveland. I don't think it's going to affect Cleveland in any which way at this point. We're still waiting on Sue Robinson's declaration on what the fuck's about happened to Deshaun.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of in between on a year indefinite, 6 games, 8 games, 10, whatever.
You know
the hell
what indefinite means, though, right? Indefinite just means a year. It just means a year, and then it's like, I'm
out of there. I'm a changed man.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, on to Carolina. Flip side of things, they are probably not in the most winnable division. Obviously, Tom Brady retired and then unretired and came back and is now manning the fence. And your beloved Jameis Winston, W-eating New Orleans Saints are obviously there. And then with Carolina and Atlanta both seemingly rebuilding rosters over these last few years. But thoughts on Baker Mayfield, and I believe the over-under is 6 games. Before this trade, is there?
Before this trade. Okay.
Before the trade. So, is there any shift on Baker Mayfield potentially adding to the win column of the Carolina Panthers?
I give him 8. I think Baker could get them at least 2 more wins. Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Healthy.
I have to look
DJ
at their
Moore.
Their
Robbie
schedule.
Anderson, maybe. You
Yep.
Like, I was like, no.
Yep.
I think this is all a ploy. I think maybe Robbie Anderson is fully on board with Baker being his quarterback, and he's just like, you know what? The media's going to love this. I hate it, Maybe. Probably not. Probably not. But it'd be funny if it's like, yo, this is my best friend, actually,
Maybe. Baker to Panthers equals Panthers 0-16, says Dan, the man from the comment section down below. Oh, man.
They won games with Sam Darnold, so I think they can get at least 8, maybe. Like that's what Baker are we getting, right?
I don't know.
We getting the 1 year 2020 Baker. Dan Orlovsky believes that if they get that Baker Mayfield, they're going to the playoffs. And like when you look at the team it's not bad. It's just they always get hit with McCaffrey, always injured. Robbie Anderson might not be there. O-line is okay. Their defense is okay.
Hi.
Can I help you? They're a bad team, but I think Baker adds a little bit more. Maybe a little more consistency for them at quarterback is what they're looking for. And I know we bring up the Matt Corral thing last time we talked about this. And I know we were like, oh, why would they do that? It's just 1 year, right? Like, if Baker doesn't do anything for them, thanks. We gave them the 4th, 5th round pick, and we're good, right? They didn't really lose anything trading for Baker. They had more to gain from this trade than they did to lose. So why
according
not?
to you, 2 wins.
2
apparently.
whole wins, bro.
So
Oh my
must have been
goodness.
good enough. On the flip side, though, they did only have to absorb $4.85 million worth of his contract, while they took on the rest of it. Another comment from Dan the Man. So, is this Baker's last shot in the NFL?
No.
I also don't think so. But Sam Darnold, on the other hand, you are officially
Maybe.
on the chopping block.
It
I
might be
don't know.
his last job.
He's a young player. That's going to be the next piece to figure out. I'm more interested in what they're going to do with him. Now they roster all these quarterbacks. I've spoken about Matt Corral. We've seen the PJ Walker experiment when they try it every once in a while. And, Sam Darnold was the Band-Aid to make everything better last year. Started 3-0, and it looked really good, and it went all to shit.
Really I remember we were like,
fast.
maybe.
We was ready to have him we had him in our top 10 in the power ranking for
right.
Like
they were 3-0. What can we say, right? Like they were winning. I'm pretty sure they beat the Saints at one point too, right? Like that was one of Jameis's losses.
It might have been.
They had it rolling for 3 whole weeks, and then the wheels just blew up. Literally, they didn't fall off the car; the wheels just exploded on the car.
Well, when Christian McCaffrey's wheels gave out, it definitely.
That man even have wheels.
A ton.
That man's Flintstoning it out here, right?
No, chill out. Christian McCaffrey and Baker Mayfield are a match made in heaven. We'll see.
Hey, it's not a bad duo. They have DJ Moore on.
They have a lot of weapons. Their offensive line is bad.
And hopefully they drafted. They drafted Icky. They might have brought someone in recent. I don't pay attention to the Panthers. Why am I going to pay attention to them?
Right.
8-win season. Let's go.
Keep
on pounding.
Season. Moving up in the leaderboards, apparently. Some semblance of love for Baker Mayfield on this show. But nonetheless, good luck to Baker.
Too much hate, man. There's too much hate.
Week 1 is against these Cleveland Browns, man. It's going to be hilarious to see. This won't be a return game. I believe this game is in Carolina, so it won't be as comedic as Russell Wilson having to go back to Seattle. But it is going to be another comedy game nonetheless. We also have Jacksonville and the Washington Commanders, also Carson Wentz bite in the ass. So there's a lot of storylines heading into week 1, but I
got a question for you. Did you see the owner of the Browns statement?
No, what did he say?
He was saying we were so happy to have him as a player. The fans were so excited to see him. He showed his ups. He was praising him, and it's good. It's really good. But my first thought when he was like, oh, he was just a hard worker, put his nose then why didn't you want him? Isn't that the type of player you want? A hard worker person?
One of your first playoff games in 20 years?
He even said he did something that not many people done in a long time for this organization, and they were just like, we don't want you, dude. We're good.
Yeah, we're all set. I don't get it. We'll see. Like I said to Deshaun Watson, shit is going to go down, and it is going to dramatically change the course of. It could be history. It could literally change the course of history due to the way that we view suspensions, due to the way the guaranteed money are for quarterback money. That whole division could now be in shambles, and we would have thought Cleveland was going to be a powerhouse for the next 5 years, maybe a next decade. Whatever happens out of there is going to be interesting. It's going to change the landscape. So, some interesting
Super Bowl.
A lot of people did. A lot of people did. So we shall see. But nonetheless, that's going to do it for the NFL. We're going to transition on to basketball as NFL continues to bless us. Basketball season is over.
Continues to bless us.
It is on fire. 4th of July week. This first week of July is usually when all the crazy shit starts going down. KD trade request, Kyrie trade request, Kyrie for Russell Westbrook swap. All kinds of
people need to stop living in their dreams.
Durant to Miami, Durant to Phoenix, Durant to the Lakers. What is going on?
Durant to the Lakers with Kyrie.
I know.
Y'all gonna take
July, man. Everyone starts taking. Everyone starts drinking the Kool-Aid out here, man. and it gets wild. But nonetheless, we're gonna get to true trades that did in fact happen.
Yo.
One we're gonna start with just due to the fact of the haul
Yeah.
that came for this guy, and a player that you are a bit of a fan
I'm a
of.
fan of it. Yeah.
When it came down to what the Utah Jazz should do, Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert,
I said trade Rudy.
lo and behold, Rudy Gobert gets shipped off. Hi, beautiful.
Hey, what's up,
Hi.
bud? Hi.
My kid is
Hey.
dying to get in here.
Oh.
But anyways,
Fucking
Rudy
with you.
Gobert gets shipped off for 5 players, 5 role players at
Yo.
that. Primary 2 names obviously being the pest and the annoying irritator that is Patrick Beverly. Troublesome Malik Beasley, who has potential there to be something, and we'll see. The young Vanderbilt, who was drafted a few years back. Walker
Solid.
Kessler, who was drafted also.
DPOY in college as well. From one DPOY to another.
There was 4 first-round picks plus another 5th-round pick that got tossed in as a swap. And none of these picks are protected until I believe the last pick in 2029 has some sort of a protection on it. But other than that, it is basically 4 guaranteed unprotected picks for Mr. Rudy Gobert.
Yeah. The GM of that Utah Jazz is Danny Ainge. And what that man is going to do is he is going to take a player and milk whoever he can for everything. We've seen him do it for years in Boston. I am a Rudy Gobert fan, per se. Like, I wouldn't say he's in my top 5, but I enjoy watching him because, he's playing that defense. People shit on him all the time. And I know he's not the best offensive player, and I know he's a limited player, and I can't agree. That contract he got, ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This trade package that the Jazz just got for Rudy Gobert, heist of the century, bro.
5 players, 5 picks, man.
5 players. Malik Beasley is going to give them quality minutes. Patrick Beverly can be a starter for them next to Donovan Mitchell. Walker Kessler, they hope, can be a Rudy Gobert replacement, bringing in some similarities with the defense, but it's a rookie, And then all those picks, ridiculous. I don't think they get anywhere near this maybe for Donovan Mitchell. Just saying. But Jazz win. Jazz won this trade because it's terrifying and exciting, the Cat and Gobert duo. The first duo I thought of was AD and DeMarcus, and then I got on Twitter and I saw the Tim Duncan and Robinson picture, and I was like, slow down a little bit there.
Oh, boy.
But, like, AD and DeMarcus, when DeMarcus got traded to the Pelicans, it was like, oh, shit. Oh, shit. We're about to see AD and DeMarcus play together. And then we saw how that went. For me, it's like, oh, shit. We get to see a defensive player and then an offensive player in Cat and Gobert playing next to each other. And I'm so excited to see how it works. I hope it works for him. But I live in the real world, and it's not going to be bad. Because they're paying him until he's like 35. The picks,
they have for a couple more seasons.
Yeah, the picks, literally, Rudy Gobert could not even be on the team when those picks are still being given to the Jazz. To the Jazz, and it's like, that's kind of terrifying. For how limited he can be. Yeah, you just hope that man is the most elite of the elite in that paint defending, and everyone else is like, we got the perimeter. It's okay. Exciting, though.
No, I hear it. We got a message here. I've been a Jazz fan for 15 years, and I've never understood the hate around Gobert, much like Mamba. Although we completely fleeced the Timberwolves. Yeah. Shout out to Big Nipples on
They also got a first for Royce O'Neal, too. So, for being in a bad spot where it's like, okay, we got to blow it up. We got to build around one of these star players. They chose Donovan. That's cool. I'm just glad that they chose, right? We've seen so many
Yep.
teams where it's like, no, we're just going to keep running with these two and live in limbo for the rest of our life, right?
Yep.
And with the Jazz, it was like last year, maybe 2 years ago, the rumors were like, how far can this duo really get? Is
Yep.
this really the future of the Jazz? And it didn't take long for them to be like, yo, we can't. We got bounced in the first round. Trade one of them. What's the best thing we can get? 5 picks, 5 players. Yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah, that's absolutely what I think. Oh, here we go. We got another question from Big Nipples on Ice. Do you guys think we should trade Mitchell while he's in his prime? I think it's inevitable that he demands a trade. So the resident Utah Jazz fan thinks that this is an eventual rebuild. Mamba, I believe he's up out of here. But
This
I
year?
think he will play out a bit of his contract a little bit more and then maybe do a sign and trade. I don't know if he's going to force his way out. That seems to be the biggest thing that goes on now. Nowadays, it's starting to force your way out. We've seen James Harden bounce from team to team rather quickly. Whenever the Russ situation doesn't work out, he's just on his way out. We're seeing Kyrie and Kevin Durant right now, muscling their weight around. Kawhi sat out a few years ago on the Spurs. But I think Donovan Mitchell, he's going to rake in way more value than Gobert, 5 picks, 5 players. I think you're more looking at probably maybe kind of what Paul George landed, almost 7 picks. I think it was 4 picks and 3 swaps.
And a young star.
A young Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you know what I mean? I think that's something to eventually look at because if you're looking for a full rebuild, I mean, 4 picks plus the one from Brooklyn plus a pick swap, you have 6 first-round picks. Talk about a rebuild. And we talked about a little bit OKC on this show before. We're seeing the way Sam Presti's been rebuilding the entire franchise. And then obviously getting Quinn Snyder out of the building.
Hey, got your assistant.
We'll see how that plays out. Assistant coach is always.
I wonder why. Probably no bias there with Danny Ainge in the office.
Hey, it definitely depends. But I don't think he goes anywhere for at least the next year or two. I think he might pull a Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal type move where he just wants to see where things go, see how much the franchise actually is willing to build around him before he just up and jump shit. But Mamba, I'll let you take it away on that one.
No, I agree with that. If he was to be like, yo, I want to trade, it probably would have already happened, right? I mean, he has there's
the Atlanta, there's been Miami, there was the Knicks talk.
The Heat did put in an offer, I believe, and then they were like, "Nah, we're good." But yeah, it's just a year, maybe 2 years. Contract runs out. It's gonna be like, I want to win again. $250 million. I want to win again. $250 million, roughly, because the cap's probably going to go up by the time his contract's up. So it could be pushing close to $300 million, right? I do agree they will get a lot for him in return. I don't see it happening this year. Maybe not even next year.
Yep. No, I agree. And I know everyone bangs their chest over the last decade that the West is so brutal and it's the harder conference, and now where things are sort of starting to even out. But when you look at it, Russ made it to the playoffs by himself. James Harden willed them to the playoffs by themselves. We've seen Jokic without his 2 best players this season will them to the playoffs. Luka made it all the way to the conference finals by himself. So to think, obviously, Damian Lillard over the season. So
to all these players that played with him.
To think that Donovan Mitchell can't potentially will this roster together with the kind of player he is, I wouldn't quite rule it out just yet. Not quite.
I hear it, but
and I mean, we seen Ja and all these young kids firing up, get a couple young pieces around with all these draft picks that are coming in. It's looking on the up and up for Utah, if you ask me.
Timberwolves Jazz could be a playing game to get into the playoffs.
Wow,
it could be.
Do you think they're gonna?
It could be.
Minnesota's back into playing after this move. You don't think this pushes them into at least top 6?
I'm not gonna say anything until free agency is officially done. But teams are getting better, right? take this with a grain of salt, guys. The Kings got better, right? The Kings got better. The Spurs got worse. Pelicans are going to be better. You know, Lakers, you hope. The Laker fans hope they're a little bit better. You know, Clippers are coming back. Got John Wall. Yep. Re-signed pretty much everyone but Isaiah Hartenstein.
Yep.
Teams are getting better. Teams are staying the same, and they were already good. The Jazz just traded away their only defensive player, pretty much. It's going to be tough. Can they fight for a playoff spot? Yes, but it's going to be difficult as hell because you traded Rudy, you got Patrick to play next to him, but you got Mike Conley, right? Like there's a lot of pieces on the Jazz team where it's like that can be cool, but probably not 40 wins cool, you know?
Yep, I hear it. We got some more news. I think Patrick Beverley is the perfect guard next to Donovan Mitchell. Donovan's defense has been suspect over the past few seasons, and this past playoff, it was awful. I think the four-man, I guess when you throw Malik Beasley in that...
don't forget Clarkson.
Well, that's where I went with the four-man. Clarkson was the original guy I'm thinking about, along with Mike Conley, who are sort of the three guys that are already established in Utah. You add in a nitty-gritty Patrick Beverley, a guy like Malik Beasley that can get his own shot, and that's going to be a very interesting 1-2 punch off the bench with him and Clarkson, seeing how they play off of each other because they can get buckets and help build this team from the bench. So that is going to be interesting. I like Patrick Beverley's fit on here.
Patrick Beverley will have a better impact in that locker room than probably on the court. Patrick Beverley will go into those practice games. And if Donovan isn't like playing how you think he would, Patrick Beverley is going to call him out on the bullshit. That's who Patrick Beverley is.
Right.
If Donovan steps up to the challenge, great. But if he shrinks away, it's like, bro, what are you doing? It's Patrick Beverley. Go at him. You know, like this man is trying to help you find that hunger to be a killer on the court.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to play defense, homie. It's inevitable. I just said that word all wrong, but you're playing basketball, bro. You can't only play offense. You got to play defense too. Defense wins championships. We just saw that.
It does. It's going to be interesting how Minnesota sort of where they go from here.
3-time DPOY in defense wins championships.
I said, they land. It's sort of we got to see where D'Angelo Russell lies in this whole thing. He's kind of
that's a connector piece, man.
As the odd man out, obviously having Anthony Edwards, bringing in Brian Forbes and Kyle Anderson.
Did you just say Brian Forbes?
Yeah, or Bryn Forbes.
Yep.
Bryn Forbes, my bad.
Yeah.
He doesn't do much outside of outscoring Jimmy Butler in that one playoff series, which is like the biggest
thing. Don't do that.
Other than that, hi, baby girl. Other than that, though, he has not done a ton to his career, so we shall see. And on the flip side of things, we got a trade going down in the East over here in Boston. My boys over at the Celtics making a few calls, trading away a couple of I don't want to call them bottom feeder players, but some of the guys near the end of the bench. Boston makes a wild trade, really, pieces of interest. Daniel Tice and Aaron Nesmith and an obvious first-round pick, along with a couple other, like I said, handful of, I don't want to call them junk players, but that's really kind of just
I don't want to call them it, but, some
that's
junk
just
players.
Kind of how
you say it right here, guys. Yeah.
Landing I still don't know how to feel about it. Potential game changer in Malcolm Brogdon, former 20-point per game scorer,
former rookie of the year.
Former rookie of the year, former 50, 40, 90 guy. But the biggest glaring problem with Malcolm Brogdon is the injuries. Can't quite play over 55 games over the last few seasons. He is an outstanding player. Amazing. He does a lot what Marcus Smart does in a way, and a lot of what Derek White does in a way, probably a little bit better than both of those guys, with the exception of Marcus Smart's defense, but a little bit more of a shooter and shot creator, so to speak, than either of the two guys in Marcus Smart or Derek White. But, Mambo, how did you feel overall about this trade? As Big Nipples has to say, it was a big steal, and he's the perfect guard for my boys down in Boston. And I think it's gonna fit. It's just gonna come down to health, because we tried this. Isaiah Thomas tried it, brought in Kyrie, tried it, brought in Kemba, tried it, and eventually just looked at Marcus Smart on the bench, who's been sitting there for years, and said, "We're just gonna try it." But Malcolm Brogdon, Boston Celtics. How much do the chances go up for my boys in Boston?
I mean, y'all are probably still championship contenders. You know, y'all didn't get worse. Y'all only improved in the weaknesses that y'all saw. You know, ball handler, jump shots here and there, defense at the guard spot. You name 3 offensive players, bro. Kemba, Isaiah, Kyrie. Malcolm Brogdon is not just an offensive player. Okay, this man is going to give them everything they need defensively, offensively. Obviously, the health is the question mark that you said, but he doesn't have to start. That man can come off the bench. I know he's making a crap ton of money,
Yes.
but he can get 25, 30 minutes off the bench.
That's
and that
so
will,
interesting to see what we're about to play, how we're playing that.
Right. But him being the piece off the bench where it's get Derek White involved, get Grant Williams involved, come in, play the defense when Smart needs a break. You know, it fits perfect with Boston. Obviously, a lot of money. Obviously, injuries. But he won't be asked to do as much as every other team has asked him to do. You know, he went into the Pacers, was starting point guard.
Yep.
He won the starting point guard, shooting guard spot with the Bucks, and that's why he got the contract with the Pacers. Going to the Boston, that team has depth. He doesn't need to immediately be the starter, doesn't have to put everything on his back and do everything that the team – you know, he can be like, yo, this game, let me just get 20 minutes or only put me in when you absolutely need to so I can get a little bit of rest. You know, having Malcolm Brogdon as y'all's backup point guard, that's some bullshit. That's some bullshit, honestly.
It's going to help because one of the glaring weakness throughout the finals mainly was the lack of scoring. Boston couldn't crack 100 points.
Turnovers.
That also, that became very apparent. There was no true ball handler or primary decision maker.
No.
It sort of turned into Smart Brown and Jason Tatum, do what you can, the occasional sprinkle of Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. But there was no definitive guy. This might have been a spot where I would have loved to nab a guy like Ricky Rubio, potentially help anchor out. I know.
Cleveland.
Talk to Rondo. See if Rondo wants to come back on some favorable deal. We need a guy to yes, bro. We need a guy to run the system, help get our guys in a good position. I think Malcolm Brogdon is great for that. Yeah. I think over the last few seasons for him, we've seen sprinkles of ability to score, shoot, defend.
That man was like a 25-point per game scorer before he would get hurt with the Pacers, bro.
He was doing it. But let's move on to the Pacers on the flip side. Obviously, we've seen everything that they've been doing over the last few seasons. It's not working out. I think every year, free agency, the offseason, the draft ends rolling around. We're looking at the regular season standings, and we're looking at all these rosters. And for it feels like the last, decade, since the Pacers started their run with David West and Danny Granger and Paul
George when he was rocking the number 24.
We're always sitting there like, wow, like these Pacers have managed to roll out good rosters with some, good players, all-stars sprinkled in here and there, and it does not turn out to be anything. And we've seen them ship off as a bonus. Now we see them ship off Malcolm Brogdon, bringing in some picks, looking like they're going to build around a young Tyrese Halliburton. Brought in Ben Mathurin.
Yes.
Also brought in
I'm so excited for that duo.
And this roster continues to flip over, and Big Nipples is on a roll, brings up a prime player, hoping that the Utah Jazz trade for Miles Turner, who continues over the last few seasons to be a player of interest out of Indiana. That'd be an interesting fit. But Mamba, what is the next step? Is he one of the next guys out of the building?
See, that's tough, right? Like this Pacers team, they're kind of in the middle. Like they've already said, we're kind of rebuilding, but we're retooling. Like they don't want to use the word rebuild because rebuild, it just means, oh, we don't have anything going for us. Let's just restart, So retooling, they have interesting pieces. Tyrese, Benedict Mathurin, right? Chris Duarte, Buddy Hield. Those are some shooters right there, okay? If a team needs them, call for one of them. They can probably get them, right? But if nobody calls, those are 4 guards that I would like to see play together, right? Regarding Miles Turner, I don't know. We've said it, Miles Turner to the Celtics should have happened, right?
Like 3 seasons in a row.
There have been reports for a little while that the Raptors have been interested in Miles Turner, right? Like, Miles Turner can get you something maybe like DeJounte Murray got for the Spurs, right? Like, that's how good I think Miles Turner is in terms. Maybe a few protected picks, instead of unprotected picks. But, like 3 picks, 2 picks, something like that, right, for Miles Turner, because he's a 3-and-D. That man can shoot, and that man is going to block your shit if you try to go in his paint. And everyone needs that. The Jazz, that would be a good fit, but they're going to have to part with one of those Timberwolves unprotected and then probably another pick. And I don't know what players. I don't know what team's going to trade for Miles or if a team even trades for him. I just know pretty much any and every team could use a Miles Turner on that team.
No, you summed it up nicely. He's a 3-and-D, big body. Not just a big man. He has played some 4. He has played some 5. The whole movement of Sabonis out of there was to give him all that spotlight at the 5 and be this sort of stretch 5.
I believe he had like a 40-point game last season. It was his career high. It just shows what he can do offensively.
He's kind of like Buddy Hield, where they've been in the league for a few years now. They're sort of seasoned veterans, but
he's a little bit younger than Buddy, though.
Look, Buddy Hield has a whole different kind of things. Like, it is crazy.
I think he's 7 years older than what they said.
About one. Chill out. Big shout out. Thank you for coming through. Big Nipples on Ice. I appreciate you. Make sure to tune in if you are a wrestling fan. We are live at 6 p.m. on Fridays talking AEW and WWE.
Nice little
we are here on Wednesdays, every Wednesday at 6, breaking down NFL and basketball content. So make sure to tune in here, have the notifications on.
Peace, Nips.
Have a good one. Thank you for stopping by. But yeah, I don't know what the Pacers are going to do here. It seems to be total rebuild mode. With some plug and play players. He does. That's what I mean with Buddy Hield. They're like old enough where they're sort of veterans, but not veteran. They're not the Lakers. What the Lakers did, bringing all those older guys. Like, these are young veteran players that are gonna immediately contribute to winning somehow, some way. And if a team can package and get Buddy and Miles Turner, I think would boost their rotations up immensely.
It's gonna take like 4 first-round picks for that. Are you kidding me? How far can the Pacers go this season with the roster they have now? Do they make play-in? No. Do you think they maybe get close to them? Are they sniffing the play-in?
No. They're like the 12th seed. They're like 12 or 13. Because even when they do roll out good rosters like Sabonis and Brogdon and TJ Warren was having bubble Warren.
Injuries, bro.
They were the 4th seed. Like, it doesn't matter. Even when they're the 4th seed with home court advantage, they get swept by Miami. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just fully tank it and rebuild it with Tyrese and all these young guards that you're going to bring in. And Hold Victor Wayamba is that dude next year coming out.
They ain't get him. But that's the Spurs, man.
More signings, gonna tiptoe over, like I mentioned earlier. We are going to talk a little bit about the Lakers before we talk about some of the East contenders making some moves. The Lakers, like I just mentioned, doing the opposite from getting all these old folks. There's no Carmelo. There's no Dwight Howard. There's no Wayne Ellington. There's no Trevor Ariza. No, they're going to bring in a pair of nice young big men in Thomas Bryant, who we actually just had a conversation about recently. Damian Jones returning back after his 10-day from last season, and a pair of wing guys to help further enhance the roster. Lonnie Walker, Troy Brown Jr., Max
Juan
Christie, who was there
Toscano
drafted.
Anderson.
Juan
Juan T,
Toscano,
bro.
Anderson to go along with Stanley Johnson
Right.
and Austin Reeves, who were sort of the young, fresh set of legs. And here come the Lakers, man, resetting the
Stop.
bench at least. I'm not jumping
These
through
bums out of my face.
Yo, chill out. I love Lonnie Walker.
I do too. I love the
roster.
signings that they made. The Lakers did all the right things, right? When it was, they have no money.
Are you still sitting
we're
on
getting
Russell
Kyrie
Westbrook?
for Russell. Huh?
Is it still Russell Westbrook that makes it ugly?
No, I'm cool with Russell, bro. Like I understand he is not the player that he once was. And I think everybody needs to understand that at this point. And maybe even Russell Westbrook needs to understand he's not the player he once was, right?
Yep.
But these signings were perfect for him, and I hate him. I hate him for it. I don't want to see Juan T in the Lakers. You know, I'd rather see him go somewhere else. I don't want to see Lonnie Walker in the Lakers. Nah. Lakers should just trade their team. Just trade the whole team. Give them to Seattle. Done with them.
Arguably the most historic franchise in the NBA.
Yep.
Go back to Seattle.
Get rid of them.
Says the deranged man behind the screen.
Get rid of them.
Anyways, kudos on the Lakers for basically doing everything the right way this time.
Right. I'm so proud of them.
The biggest and massive change in this, what's going to push this roster, is if they somehow manage to flip Russell Westbrook, that 27 and 29 first, for Kyrie and Joe Harris. Then
they don't want Joe Harris.
I know they don't, but if you want to get the fuck off of Russell Westbrook, you're going to need to take Joe Harris. It's only like a year difference, and Joe Harris is a little bit of a bigger body. But I think Seth, it got to be the Curry name. Because them boys do not give a damn what the shot either.
Like, I do believe he's making less than Joe Harris as well.
Yeah. But Curry is not afraid of the moment at all. And we're talking Seth here. Not like he is not afraid of the moment. We've seen him go after Paul George in that the Mavericks series a few years ago. We know the history in all of that. But Seth is a big take a shot guy, and I think he'd fit in this roster if there's somehow, some way they manage to swing.
Anybody who shoots will fit on that roster. Calm down.
But Lakers, man, Lakers. We're trying to build their roster back up, and Mamba doesn't give a damn.
I really don't because
there were such good pickups.
They were really good pickups for the Lakers.
They were good pickups.
Defense, you get scoring, and they're actually not getting Medicare checks. So
maybe THT will do something.
Whatever it is. Yeah. No. Stop.
No,
that man is no.
I hear.
Next team. What's the next team?
Next, a team that we just kind of talking about if they're gonna make a trade or not with them. Them boys down in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Trying to steer the ship right. There's a lot of reports coming out now that they are prepared to launch into spring training and training camp with
even the season.
They're ready to fire up the season with Kyrie and KD being on the team, and they're making a little bit of moves, bringing back in Nick Claxton, bringing back Patty Mills, trading for Royce O'Neal out on the perimeter, and bringing in, before mentioned, TJ Warren to the mix. So they're trying here, but I know they're sitting there saying, man, we could have had Karis LeVert and Jared Allen and
all of our picks,
and now it's like, hey, Ben Simmons, are you even gonna play?
I forgot Ben Simmons is on that team, bro.
When you look at the roster, there's some sort of chance. And again, if they keep these guys and don't make the Kyrie trade, they'll still have Seth and Joe Harris to add to this roster of scorers. There's some shooting. I think they're still a little dry in the defensive department, especially when it comes down to rebounding. I don't think Nicholas Claxton is going to be the end-all, be-all. And even if you convince Ben Simmons and KD to play spot minutes at 4 and 5, when you do decide to go super small ball, Ben Simmons as a small ball 5.
It could work.
Seth, Joe, Kyrie, KD, there's a lot of possibilities for a lot for Ben Simmons there. But it's all a matter of keeping these pieces together. But nonetheless, they're seemingly trying to round out their roster, mainly their wings, obviously bringing in A healthy Joe Harris and a healthy Ben Simmons would help with that immensely. And then bringing in TJ Warren and a proven sort of two-way player, have playoff experience in Royce O'Neal. How do you feel about these signings?
These are great signings as well. Like I don't really think anybody lost, right, with their signings. Not off the top of my head, right? Yeah, no, I can't think of anyone where it was like, why did they do that? You know, why?
I can
TJ
think of
Warren.
talk about the next team.
Okay. And then I'll probably be like, oh, you right. But it's solid depth that they very clearly lack in depth. They need to figure out the big men because I think they only have Nicholas Claxton.
Yep.
Right? And I think they lost DeAndre Jordan last year. And,
DeAndre Jordan,
that's a big hit for them,
Andre
man.
Drummond gone. All
He's
the
a
big
Bulls.
are all gone. Yep.
But yeah, no, solid pickups. It was like we still have Kyrie and KD because you do, right?
Yep.
And if they can figure out a way to mend those bridges, you know,
maybe
they're a championship team, but nothing up to this point has showed us that they are a championship team.
If not, this roster is going to have Russell Westbrook, Ben Simmons, and God knows what else.
This man said a lineup with Russell and Ben.
Listen, if the Nets want to do it and they're so gung-ho about holding on to their roster and building team culture and everything,
I hear it.
Let them go at it. But the team that I was talking about was actually the team you just mentioned, was the Chicago Bulls, trying to make some moves, obviously bringing back most of their entire team, but adding questionable Gordon Dragic to the backcourt that already going to
2.9 mil, bro.
That's already going to bolster Lonzo, Zach LaVine, Alex Caruso, Ayo,
Dosunmu.
Also, Kobe White is also in this backcourt.
Yeah.
Then you have Rosen is another guy with the ball in his hand. You can't forget about Nikola Vucevic that's also down there, who is a former 20-plus point per game scorer. And then the addition of Andre Drummond, who is one of the few big men in the league that is not afraid of getting the offensive rebound and just launching that bitch
right up. Nah.
You know what or dribble up the court.
Nah, we going
You know what I mean?
There's for three. Yeah.
Two interesting additions to a team that didn't have much playoff success, but adding in a backcourt scorer like Gordon Dragic would have been useful last year with Lonzo and Caruso being down and sort of stuff like that. But now this year, I would have figured you would have want to see what Ayo can do, what White can do, what Lonzo can do, and then figure out of those guys who you're moving off of. Lonzo probably the safest, but I think Kobe White could net you something pretty decent. Dragic being added to the mix is a little odd. Obviously, still having a lot of these young pieces and bringing in Drummond, who sort of just keeps getting passed around like musical chairs at this point.
Right.
We'll see where his career ends up. But thoughts on Chicago, who's a team that we were raving about all last summer. Everybody was super hyped up about them. True contenders. Couldn't beat anyone in the regular season that was even decent.
Right.
And then completely got thrashed by the Bucks in the first round. I believe they lost.
It's the Bucks, bro. They did.
We're going to talk about the Bucks next in just a minute. But thoughts on Chicago and sort of the shakeup in the East that now they're trying to provide?
I think the Goran Dragic signing, right? I think that is them saying, okay, we can move off of Kobe White. We've seen what he's done for us. Like, there is potential still there. He's still super young. He has showed, like, the flashes of what he can do.
Yep.
Lonzo, Caruso, Dosunmu, right? It seems like those are the three guards that they want to move forward. And then, I mean, you got LaVine, obviously. DeMar's more small forward, but he can play shooting guard at times if need be. I know he didn't really play it, like, he's played shooting guard before. But Goran Dragic is a scorer and a facilitator, right? With Kobe White, he's a scorer and he has the ball a good amount of time, but I never really heard anything great about his playmaking. Like, he's probably not a bad playmaker. I don't really watch Kobe White. I'm sorry. I don't. It's not my team. But they're going to be able to get something for him, whether it be just one first-round pick or maybe another player to help them
another
play defense,
wing piece?
Right. Someone who can come in and help guard somebody. Because who the hell guarding on this team other than Patrick Williams and Alonzo and maybe Caruso? You know, you got 3 players right there and you have
Maybe.
a 15-man roster.
Exactly.
You know? Bulls, though, 5th seed. I could see them in the 5th seed again.
I hate it. On the flip side, like I said, we're going to talk about the Bucks who bounced them out, bringing
the
in
1st seed.
Pretty much everybody. Brought back Javon Carter to add to the defense, restructured their deal to bring back Mr. Bobby Portis. Also brought back
4-year, 49. That man almost signed with the Warriors. I'm sorry.
He almost did.
That is crazy to me.
Brought back Serge Ibaka, who didn't have a ton of playing time on the roster over the course of the playoff and stuff, but another, nonetheless, big body to add to the mix. Nice 3-man rotation. Exactly. With Brook Lopez, him and Brook Lopez fit a lot of the similar playing style and mold that Budenholzer is going to want. Bobby Portis provides a little bit more of the sort of Montrezl Harrell, nitty-gritty enforcer type of role for the team, with also the ability to shoot. Brought back Wesley Matthews yet again, and then added one of my favorite pieces, bringing in Joe Ingles, who was able to recuperate.
Joe.
I believe it was a torn ACL or an MCL. I can't remember. He did get shipped off in the deal to, I believe it was Cleveland at the time. The Portland deal, that's where it was. He was shipped off to Portland, but has had all this time off, hasn't had to worry about playing or anything like that, and adding Joe Ingles to this bench and bringing in all these guys all over again and a healthy Chris Middleton. I'm looking at Milwaukee like the favorites to beat, especially if the Nets can't get underway, because if the Nets can sort of figure it out, then that's definitely a team I'm looking at. I'm also looking at you, Miami. We'll talk about you guys in the near future once we figure out what you guys are going to do. There's Kyrie, there's KD, there's Donovan Mitchell, there's all types of different things that
Mitchell
can link to. So we'll see what Miami does. I do love what they did in bringing back Victor Oladipo, but enough about different teams we're going to talk about later. Milwaukee Bucks, the team to beat in the East, and fear the deer is very real to me right now, especially able to just kind of do what the Warriors are trying to do when it was running back, even though the Warriors missed out on some of their bottom half, lower end of the rotation guys.
That's okay.
So Milwaukee was able to keep them all and probably got even a little bit better.
Yes. Not probably. They did. Joe Ingles off the bench can give them 11 points and at times like 7. That man, when he was with the Jazz, at points was their primary ball handler.
Was the point guard,
Like that man was running their offense.
Him running that second unit is going to be nice.
Them adding Joe is just that's ridiculous. Putting him next to Giannis, having Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, like this team right now should probably be the favorite to win the East.
Yep.
My bad, Boston. Y'all make great moves, but it's Giannis and everyone else around him. It just looks like too much.
Realistically speaking, we probably lose to Milwaukee in 5 or 6 games if they have a healthy Chris Middleton. And this is a Boston fan, guys, telling you. We probably lose in 5, maybe even probably 6. But a good chance we could even lose 5 if it's not for Middleton missing out, Al Horford having a crazy game, Grant Williams having, we had to have anomaly games that we obviously didn't get throughout the finals and even the conference finals. A lot of our guys started to fizzle out. Chris Middleton and now a healthy Milwaukee Bucks team makes a world of a difference.
Terrifying team.
Biggest problem team by far. They have so much depth. And it's going to be interesting because I don't think
could easily have the best record in the entire league.
They probably will. I don't think they're done. I think they're going to end up getting someone surprisingly decent to even good over this free agency on probably like a vet minimum that is just willing to rock out with these guys. The last team we're going to talk about, which is a team we didn't really get to talk too much about last week that Mamba wanted to talk about a little bit. It is them Philadelphia 76ers.
And real quick, what's crazy about this is James Harden has still not signed with them, bro.
No, but it is due to the fact that as reports are to be are true, he is set to restructure his contract, scaling down his, I believe it's like 47.8,
To
47.9,
45. Woo woo. No.
whatever. He's supposed to be scaling it back closer
Yeah.
into the 30s,
Oh, that ain't
giving
bad.
giving Philadelphia up to about 10 million, maybe extra a year. We'll see how they work with that. But obviously, already bringing back some of the Houston vibes, snagging PJ Tucker and
Oh,
Daniel House, respectively.
what great
And they're
signings.
still being linked to Eric Gordon, potentially getting over there if he isn't already over there.
Daryl, stop. I gotta
They're
see
bringing
this.
back Houston, bro. I'm telling you, bringing in Daniel House, bringing in PJ Tucker, and there's a chance that they're going to bring in an Eric Gordon, potentially, who they've been linked to, especially now that Danny Green might potentially be done.
Yeah.
Not just for this season, maybe career. He's a lot older, on the older side. I think he's 36. Torn ACL is going to be tough to come back from. But we'll see. They're obviously going to need to fit the role of a bench sort of plug and play guy. I think Daniel House would be nice with that, but they're still linked to Eric Gordon. The Harden contract is going to be huge on how much money they're going to be able to get back, because there was obviously a lot of rumors of Matisse Thybulle getting traded up out of there. Should they look at landing Kyrie for Maxey and some things? Tobias Harris has been rumored for the last 2 seasons now. The window for Joel Embiid is slowly closing, and it's not his fault 100%. Some of it is his fault due to injury, but a lot of those things, shit fucking happens and you can't control it. But the Joel Embiid window is closing, and having Harden there only keeps it open for X amount of years. Realistically, James Harden is not the same, I think, clear-cut top 5 player that we all, if this was 3 years ago, title favorites by far. No one's touching.
Yo, if this was 2 years ago when the trade for James Harden for Ben was first rumored, tough.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's established. But to wrap things up here, thoughts on just what the 76ers are doing, much like the Bucks, much like the Bulls, much like the Celtics, much like the Nets. All these teams are just making trades trades and signings to get back to some sort of a semblance of the promised land.
Yeah. You mentioned PJ Tucker, Daniel House. Sit in my corner, shoot that 3 ball, play defense. That's what those two are about to bring, right?
Yep.
My favorite thing the 76ers did this offseason was trading for DeAnthony Melton.
Yep.
That man is about to come in, be the backup point guard, and at times play next to Maxey and play next to James Harden, because DeAnthony, he's coming in to give you everything he has on defense, right? And he's not a bad shooter. Like, he showed when Ja went down, like, I can step up and be this guy to help this team win, right? And now you have that off the bench for the 76ers. I love that. That is my favorite thing the Sixers have done all offseason. Other than getting James Harden to agree to a $30 million contract when he could get a 60. So, bravo.
It's going to be crazy. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how much he reworks that deal, because he's going to have to give some money back. They still have to fill out the roster a little bit. I'm not too sure what they're going to do sort of on the who's backing up Joel. I know Paul Reed was their go-to for quite a while. DeAndre Jordan was their go-to for a little while.
Stop.
And we know how old
I think they still got Paul Millsap, right?
That still feels like it hasn't quite worked. I don't know what's going on.
That man never played for them in that James Harden trade. When it was like, yo, we could probably use another, like, a solid backup big man. Paul Millsap's like, we're going to take a nap. I'll talk to y'all later. Like, all right.
That's definitely something that we're going to have to wait and see how they pan out. But that's going to do it all for us over here at RGTP. Like I said, make sure to tune in on Friday when we react to an interesting Money in the Bank. We have some – I can't say we have 2 interesting winners, because if anyone's already watched, they already know what happened to one of the winners. Liv is our new SmackDown Women's Champion.
Spoiler!
On the come on, if you watched on Monday, you watched 2 days ago, you knew that, or have been on social media since. But nonetheless, we'll talk about Liv Morgan's future title run. We'll talk about what Theory has
Yep.
in tow for us. NXT Great American Bash last night was not bad at all, not
It was
disappointing. We had
fun.
some new
It was fun.
champions and some
Yep.
challenges being issued out. And tonight we will enjoy not only 2 title matches on AEW, but a street fight on top of one of them is going to be amazing. Brody King versus John Mox is going to be an awesome main event. And the TNT title is going to be a banger. And maybe a new women's tag team. I don't know what's
No,
going
no,
on with
no, no. All that and more
Thunderstorm,
on Friday. All
but
right.
we'll
He ran.
get into it. Go ahead, Mamba.
Yeah.
Let the folks know what they got to do.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, noties on.